The ideas that gave birth to our nation are the ideas that our nation is resistant to right now, and we should talk about that all the time.
In a world where narratives are shaped by corporations and gatekeepers, independent voices matter more than ever. Badlands Media brings together citizen journalists, researchers, and independent thinkers.
The truth is triggering.
Question the narrative. Explore the facts.
It's authenticity, courage, resilience.
Search for the truth others won't.
It's not about being first or being right.
The information war is changing.
It's about being authentic.
Embrace the friction.
Embrace the friction.
Shut the f*** up.
Authentically and agonizing. Join the movement.
I'm going to say how I feel.
Follow Badlands Media.
This is about the future.
The Badlands. What are the Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Mr. Vice President, I'm going off script again, I know, but I just want to personally thank you. We've been through some stuff. We've gone through some of the most complex military operations this country's ever conducted, and your steady hand and your leadership during those was a great source of strength for me. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for your character. Thank you for your selfless service. Thank you for commitment. Thank you for being a mentor to me, Mr. Vice President.
It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. Let's see what happens. Nobody else could have done that but me. I caught all of this corruption that was going on, and nobody else could have done it. Did I get that one right?
Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Devolution Power Hour. As always, I am joined by Chris Paul. Chris, you look awfully comfy, man. How's it going?
Pretty comfy over here.
Yeah, you look at what's that?
Yeah, it's good.
Agreement over your left shoulder. Who is that?
That guy right there?
Yeah.
That is Charles Bukowski, the great American author.
Ah, I love that. And what, right shoulder?
This right here says, do the evolution. And so if we just went like this,
Devolution.
it says devolution. Yeah.
Nice. That's a com.
Yeah.
That's it. We can decode that.
That's right. Yeah. It's
That's
it's an old Pearl Jam thing. And I guess Eddie Vedder turned out to be like a massive communist. So
Well,
that's
crazy.
unfortunate.
Hey, he
But I
can be
still
the best
like that,
communist, though. Only
what's
Trump
that?
could be the best communist. Yeah,
Yeah, he did say that.
he
I would
did
like to
say
see him outperform these other communists.
that. Yeah, well, maybe we'll get there. We're getting there quicker than we think with those pesky midterms coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about that. It seems the mainstream media has had like a come to Jesus moment, although I don't know if they worship Jesus. Come to ball moment where they like realize the polls are fake. And so I think we should talk about that and then segue into the impeachment of Donald Trump 2.0 because he's talking about it now. We have a lot of continuity of government comms surrounding the ballroom. That should be fun.
That is fun.
To get
That's
a
fun
bunch of
stuff.
documents, lots of documents, man. Yeah.
And
So we'll go through that and then we'll see what else happens. I don't know. Is there anything in particular from this week that stuck out to you?
Um,
Not to put
Man,
you on the
I'm-
spot or anything.
no, I'm frazzled. I was just trying to fix an ice. My ice maker is ajar, and I was trying to fix that. It did not work.
Wait, well,
It is at a point of equilibrium right now, but it is not fixed.
like you,
So,
the ice maker
yeah.
you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I should have been thinking about all the things that were happening this week, but maybe I'll think about it while we get to our ads.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, that may be more exciting than any of the news things that happened this week. It's very possible.
My ice maker drama?
Yeah. Yeah.
Man, I don't know. I don't think it's all that great. I wish it was a better story. It's not a good story.
Well, it doesn't have to be a good story to be more exciting than the news cycle.
I suppose that's true.
It's been a little slow lately, but
has it? Is that how it feels? I mean,
to me,
I keep seeing, and I don't mean to make this like we're participating in the magic spell or anything, but I keep seeing this name Jason Arday, and I know that this is some kind of academia related woke controversy or something of the kind that we have had nonstop every few months for the last 6 years. But a friend of mine who's a little older sent me a podcast, and he was like, this guy with all these followers is making a lot of the same observations you were making during 2020 about the race stuff. And I was like, okay. He's like, you should listen to it. And I was like, all right, well, I'll listen to it. And I listened to half an hour of it, and it was absolutely just straight out of 2020. The exact same talking points about virtually the same issue that was happening 6 years ago. I was shocked.
Race issue?
And he was, yeah. It's like one of those woke race issues, like a black professor who I guess died or something because he got really depressed after they said that he was plagiarizing. And I don't know, someone who looks at Twitter a lot will be like, he was plagiarizing. And I would respond with, I don't care. Okay.
He's probably just using AI a lot like everybody else.
Could be that. I mean, man, there are people I love on Substack now. You just click the little 3 dots at the top on someone's article and then hit scan for AI text. And it's crazy. You would be amazed.
Is it like everybody?
There are just people who like you would think would be better than that, who have like 98% AI text. It's unbelievable.
That is unbelievable.
But anyhow, so there's this controversy that everybody on Twitter who wants to like let everyone know that they have the right opinions on race now, like they've gotten there. They're having the same conversation that people were having in 2020, and like citing Coleman Hughes and Thomas Sowell. I was like, how can we still be doing this?
Yeah. Well, what can you tell me what the right opinions on race are so that I'm sure I have them?
Well, I mean, we're talking about the pseudo-intellectual Twitter set referencing academia, right? So you have to understand that we're talking about the right race opinions for that particular group of people who are all of like the wannabe elite ultra normies in the middle who are trying to like just socially identify one another around the water cooler or in their social scenes. You want to be like the edgy guy, but not so edgy. You don't get invited to the parties anymore.
Yeah.
So, you know,
yeah, I'm just trying to see where I would fit in because technically I do have 2 black guys working for me, but also technically I probably pay them roughly slave wages. So I'm not sure.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this fits, but that is interesting. I had not heard of this Jason Araday guy. Did look him up.
Good. I'm actually impressed that you didn't hear of him.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't remember who I was talking to. Maybe it was last week on OnlyLands about my social media feed. No, it was on my show this week because people were talking about I can't remember her name. The lady who killed like 3 of her kids, and there's this like big trial going on. Have you heard of this?
Clancy, right? It's
like Tom Clancy's sister. Yep.
An L name. Tom Clancy's sister.
Yeah. She like went nuts and I hadn't heard a peep of this until Wednesday. People were sending me links of it, and I was like reading through it on my show, and I could not believe it. My opinion was she was possessed by a demon.
Oh wow!
And that was actually my girlfriend's opinion, but I agree with it after watching The Conjuring a few times. That is not normal. But anyway, my point here, I had not heard of any of this going on. For some reason, there's something with my social media feed where I don't see some of that normie mainstream stuff because I haven't seen either of those things on my social media feeds.
I think I saw it on initially on the Real Clear Politics. You know, they aggregate like a top 15 news articles of the day. And if you kind of just glance at that, you can see what the mainstream is buzzing about. And then invariably they'll always have like links to people reacting on Twitter and stuff like that and whatever articles they link to.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
it's just like it just cycles you through the same holes again and again and again.
yeah, I don't look at that stuff. But anyway, that's why I said it was a boring week. Typically, if I don't get documents at least every other day, and we haven't had any since Wednesday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Mhm.
So to me, it's a slow week. I had to resort through going through actual like court submissions, applications for stays and stuff, which is not
But you
normally
still
my
got your
jam.
document on. It's like when you're a Hunter Biden-esque drug addict and you run out of the cocaine and the crack and you find yourself trying to smoke the Parmesan cheese that you find in the carpet.
That's
That's what reading lawsuits is for you.
SCOTUS documents are
Yeah,
my
so, yeah.
Parmesan cheese. I'm going to start saying that. But yeah, we'll go through those. Let's get a quick word from a couple of our sponsors because we got a few tonight, and then we will start busting our way through. I do believe we have the awkward Rumble one, so we'll probably get that one out of the way. But first, let's do some Cacao Bliss from Earth Echo. These guys are fantastic. This episode is brought to you by Cacao Bliss from Earth Echo, a ceremonial grade cacao drink with 7 superfoods to curb cravings and protect your heart and arteries, and it tastes like hot chocolate. Billionaires like myself are flying to Switzerland and paying $80,000 a shot to reverse their biological age. It's called stem cell therapy. Harvard researchers just discovered an affordable morning drink which floods your body with the exact same cells starting in just minutes, and it tastes like hot chocolate. Stem cells are your body's built-in repair crew. They help patch your arteries, clear out damage, and keep your cardiovascular system running young. After 50, that crew gets cut in half. You feel it in the form of low energy, stubborn weight, getting out of breath, and just feeling slowed down generally. But research shows that raw chocolate contains something that can double your stem cell count, and Cacao Bliss from Earth Echo uses the purest form of that exact chocolate. It's called ceremonial grade cacao, and it packs 7 organic superfoods into one morning drink. And best of all, it's just 35 calories with no added sugar. So you can learn more and get your special discount and free shipping when you go to trycacaobliss.com/badlands. And you should go there right now, trycacaobliss.com/badlands. And like I said, we are going to get that Rumble Studio read here.
Hey, gang, hold on a second while I hand it to you straight.
This is a paid advertisement for Rumble Wallet. They're sponsoring this portion of the show. All right, chat, real talk. If you actually want our attention, there's now a clear line to it. Here's how it works. We're prioritizing Rumble rants sent through Rumble Wallet. If you send one, we see it, we respond. Simple as that. For a limited time, you can start your wallet with $20. Yes, that's free $20 in US stablecoin for tipping creators like those of us here at Badlands directly. And all you got to do is enter the exclusive promo code DPH20 when you sign up now. Questions, hot takes, stuff you really want us to react to, don't bury it in the chat. Put it in a rant, because let's be honest, regular chat flies by. But when you use Rumble Wallet, it cuts through everything. So here's the move. You scan the QR code or use the link in the description of this video. You download Rumble Wallet and you try it for yourself. Don't forget to use the code DPH20 and claim that free $20 for a tip in US stablecoin. And sending a tip is pretty darn easy. All you got to do is open the chat like you're sending a Rumble rant and hit pay with Rumble Wallet. It's basically the VIP line. So if you want that shout out, you want us to actually engage with what you're saying, use Rumble Wallet, claim the free $20 in US stablecoin, DPH20. Restrictions apply. There are a limited number of entries available, and also terms and conditions apply. See the description below or visit rumble.com/promo official rules for details.
Hashtag real talk.
Hashtag all right chat. Let's start the show. Oh man, we got a couple election things. I think this one is probably the funniest. Did you hear that story last week? I think it was last week, where there was that social experiment of the totally made up and fake poll.
Love it. Love everything about it.
Yeah. We should do our own social experiment.
Yeah. We used to think about doing social experiments with polling.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah, except, there's always the polls are fake part that makes it so much less fun.
Well, here, let's talk about that. We're going to do this, and then we're going to do the one that's in the New York Times, where they talk about why polling chaos could create big problems for American politics. Then we'll get into the Postal Service thing that came out. The phony poll, here, a poll claiming Los Angeles Mayor Karen Bass was leading Councilmember Nithya Raman by a wide margin and picking up support from most of the voters who backed Spencer Pratt in the mayoral primary was bogus, the company behind the poll acknowledged on Monday. The fake poll by Median Strategy showed Bass leading Rahman by nearly 12 percentage points ahead of the November 3rd mayoral runoff, and said the results were based on a survey of 560 Los Angeles voters. It said at a 4.1% margin of error. But Monday, in response to repeated inquiries from the Times, the company said the purported poll was nothing of the kind. They created a short-term social experiment to examine how purported polling information could enter and spread through the political information ecosystem without independent verification. That was the whole goal of it, and that is hilarious. We're not seeking publicity or attribution for the individuals involved, nor declining interviews. So they come out and pretty much admit a poll that a lot of people ran with was totally fabricated, totally made up. Hilarious. And now we have this. New York Times just a little bit ago. Why polling chaos could create big problems for American politics. Bad polls, misleading betting odds, surveys meant to shape narratives. Ahead of the midterms in 2028, there was suddenly serious confusion about candidate strength and voter sentiment. It's like they're admitting they don't know what's going on.
Can we actually, before we get into this, I think that, so I know you haven't watched this yet. I sent you a link of Mark Mitchell from Rasmussen on Steve Bannon just a couple of days ago. And he actually talks about how without, like he basically admits that polling is fake and bad. And then says, well, I guess it like could be good. And I've talked to him about this before. Like he understands the problems with polling. I don't know how he squares what he knows about the problems with polling and the idea that like it could still be valuable anyway, but he makes the case here. So we can hear this and then we'll hear the kind of other side of it there. But this is an actual pollster making the case that polling is nonetheless important despite its fakeness, so that we can know whether or not the election results, which are also fake, have integrity.
Yeah, you know, we're gonna watch this, but I'm pretty sure Rasmussen was also on Why We Vote. I thought
maybe.
Yeah, Mark Mitchell. Here he is. He was
seems
on Why We Vote this
like
week.
A nice guy. I just don't understand how. Oh, there you go. Cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna I was gonna watch this on Thursday, I think, or Friday. I don't remember what day I had slotted this in, but I never ended up doing it. So we'll have to do that. I'll come back to it though. We're gonna watch this one right now.
But let's speed it a little bit, right?
What'd you say?
I think we can probably put it at 1.25 or 1.5. We don't need to.
We'll do 1.25.
There you go.
Say today that polling's basically turned into a psyop. You saw the situation with on the Democrat side where they admitted afterwards, hey, we just made it up, and the media bought into it on the DSA candidates running away by 20 points in Wisconsin and Michigan. Is polling deteriorated now in your eyes to basically most of it's just a psyop?
Polling's hard, but polling is also valuable. And polling is not all-knowing. It's just data, right? It's like if the election were held today, and you have a lot of people on the right who will selectively choose when to believe polling. Some of them are polling troglodytes and hate it all. And it's like, okay, like fine, be like that. It's not for everybody. But at the same time, we can't not have polling, because we would have like South American Banana Republic elections where you just absolutely have no idea if things are stolen or not.
Whoa.
I mean,
what?
I was like trying to be careful not to misrepresent him because it's been 2 days since I watched this, but there it is. I mean, what else can you say about it? Polls are fake, elections are fake. And he's like, if we didn't have polls, our elections would be fake.
I can't even like comprehend what he said here. I literally cannot comprehend that. What is he trying to say that?
He's trying to say,
I don't even know what he's trying to say.
We wouldn't know if the results of our elections matched what the general public actually thought. Supposedly, I guess, because there's way too many of us. And so polling allows us to know that the election results reflect something real about what we actually think. And without the polls to kind of condition our minds to expect a certain result, it would just be off the rails like it is in South America. And because he's involved with like the kind of Emerald Robinson, Patrick Byrne, General Flynn, Venezuela stole our elections of it all, you know that's the one he's talking about.
Yeah, the Catamaran crew. This is absolutely nuts. Especially like we just got this story of how they like a poll admitting to being totally fake. They made it up.
Yep.
Like all of them. They're just the first ones to like actually admit that they did that.
Mhm.
But wow. I'm going to rewind it a little bit just so I can hear that one more time.
Yeah.
And then we'll keep listening. That is nuts.
Yep.
Polling's hard, but polling is also valuable. And polling is not all knowing. It's just data, right? It's like if the election were held today and you have a lot of people on the right who will selectively choose when to believe polling. Some of them are polling troglodytes and hate it all. And it's like, okay, like fine, be like that. It's not for everybody. But at the same time, we can't not have polling because we would have like South American Banana Republic elections where you just absolutely have no idea if things are stolen or not.
In the chat, Ash is saying on why we vote, he said all the pollsters are captured.
Mhm.
So if that's the case,
Mhm.
like all the polls are fraudulent and the elections match that. So how in any way would one verify the other? If all the pollsters are captured, then his entire industry is just producing he's admitting the
Yes.
entire industry is producing an illegitimate result.
Yes. And his company is now called The Honest Poll, which is hilarious. The pollsters literally validate their results based on how accurately they predicted the reported results of fake elections. So, I mean, that's how they say and you'll hear him saying it in a second, actually. So I'll shut up.
Well, that's hilarious though, because they only get to confirm whether they're accurate every 2 years ish.
Yeah.
And then everything in between there, it's just like YOLO, whatever we say goes.
You just kind of turn it a little bit one way or the other, depending on what headlines are, and then the headlines and the poll results go back and forth and you can totally understand this because of the way people believe everything that comes through the screen. You tell them a bunch of terrible shit about Donald Trump, their opinion of Donald Trump drops. Then the fake poll says, oh, Trump's approval has dropped by 4% on the back of this news, blah, blah, blah. And then the news takes the poll and says, Trump's support has dropped 4% due to the controversy he's having that we told you about last week. Not a single bit of any of it has to be real, and they can still do this effectively.
Yeah. It's just what's most interesting to me here is like this guy, I understand that he built his entire income and profile and everything he does. Like his life is built around the fraudulent election system. That thing getting exposed would probably not benefit him very well. His entire incentive structure is based around supporting the fraudulent election system. There's a whole industry here.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand like he's not going to come out and admit that, but this is some wild, like we're at 15 seconds in here and I'm already like blown away by this guy's response. I cannot wait to finish this.
Well, this is a few minutes into the interview, just to make sure that the audience understands. He talked about some of his background. They were I guess he's a Navy guy, and he and Bannon were speaking about that for a few minutes. So honestly, who knows what the backstory is? But all we can go on is these comments, and these comments are absurd.
He was actually on the Power Hour a long time ago. I remember I was streaming from my brother's basement. It was when we had a former host on who like swore at a bunch of people and called them boomers, and everybody got like super mad at us for a couple days. If you remember that, but he was on the show when that happened.
That's so funny.
Let's press play.
Now, also, it's harder to poll in this day and age because there's a political realignment happening. A lot of people are upset with the political parties, and the younger people are a lot less ideological. They like shift with the wind. And then at the same time, let's not forget that we still have problems with complete mismatches and fundraising.
Why does any of that? Go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, how does any of that have to do with the difficulty of actual polling? Like the polling should be the same if you're doing the same method. Like, is the difficulty trying to get your polls to fit the current narrative, or is it the actual process of getting people to answer your questions?
I mean, and how does he immediately go to narrative concerns like what we all know about the political environment? Those are just slogans about how politics works. Those don't have any bearing on, I don't know how those have any bearing on polling. I mean, I guess I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that maybe he has some way to explain that, but it just sounds like he's repeating things that he read on Twitter.
Yeah, it really does. Let me keep going here.
on different sides of the aisle on some of these races, and we still have election integrity issues. We still have massive runaway mail-in ballots. And so I look at something like what happened in the Michigan Democrat primary, and I say, okay, first it's a primary race, harder to poll. And, some good people went in there like Emerson and tried to predict it. And the DSA candidate underperformed Emerson polling by like 13 or 14 points. Well, it's like, show me what happened in Detroit, and I'll tell you like what I think happened in that race. And obviously he was also outspent 10-1. So there's some of this, right? But it's at the end of the day, like you're going to get a pretty good look at what the national pop.
So every bit of Michigan analysis he just gave is on the assumption that the primaries are 100% real and legitimate, and that their results were accurately recorded and reported, which is preposterous, which means the analysis is worthless because its foundational premises are false. And this is everybody who analyzes politics on TV.
Makes no sense. None of this makes sense.
No.
Like, I can't believe this is a pollster saying this stuff on Bannon.
Vote is going to be nationwide. Like polling like kind of works and continues to work. And people who don't like the narrative will go out and cherry pick whatever data point they want to use to undermine a particular pollster. Because again, Emerson's a good pollster, but yeah, they missed in the Michigan primary by like 14 points. It happens. And, there's always surprises. Like nobody predicted that Collins was going to get as many votes as he did in Florida. But at the end of the day, I come back to the sentiment work, like the why. And it's like, okay, yes, like I've shown on your show examples of how we know the left-wing polling industry will fudge the numbers and try and create some fake momentum for the Democrat establishment candidate like Kamala Harris.
Just on the left, though? Just the lefty pollsters?
Yep.
People on the right would never do that.
No.
And he's on the right, correct?
That's right. Well, I mean, the right in quotes. Like when I saw him at CPAC, he was palling around with Kurt Schlichter and John Cardillo.
Whatever happened to Kurt's finger?
Infamous DeSantis simps who, I guess they're just they're just in the jungle in the mist until DeSantis reappears. Yeah.
Unbelievable. But I'm pretty sure he's like anti-Trump right now. I could be wrong, but
they all want to seem like they are objective dealers online. I'm going to tell you the objective truth, even if it's mean to Donald Trump. And that's how they establish themselves as truth tellers. It's also how they establish themselves as friendly to the super normies on the inside of the Uniparty that we were just talking about earlier.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going.
Harris, or how they'll try and do ops to undermine the anti-establishment candidate, spring of 2025 Trump and the 100-day worst polling in history. But we can't also not acknowledge that if you look at any pollster, apples to apples, if you go into look at New York Times right now, compare Trump's current approval rating today with where George W. Bush was exactly at this point in 2006, and you're going to be surprised because they're basically going to track. And that's just the reality. I'm not going to lie or sugarcoat that for people. What I want to tell you is why, and why that is because people wanted economic populism, and there was a mandate to reform the government. And that's why Trump got elected. And I got a chance to meet him, as we've talked about, in November, almost a year ago. And I sat in that, he was having lunch. I sat in that room and I told him, you are going to lose the midterms in the fall unless you can refocus on the single-minded laser focus on economic populism and visible, brutal reform of the federal government. And if you stray from that, it's not going to work. And I think I was right. And I was very open about thinking the Iran strike would be a bad idea.
Who cares about his opinions on the Iran strike?
Yeah. Also, him talking about approval ratings, that's polling, that also fake, totally made up, totally fabricated to fit the narrative of whatever result they want to push out in the election. This is so dumb, man.
And he publishes poll approval ratings every day. They're always Trump down in the low 40s. And because they're a couple points better than the mainstream polls are, everybody's like, oh, look at Rasmussen polling. It's not as bad as we think. It's not quite as bad as we think. Trump 2028. It's not quite as bad as we think.
Oh my God. Is there more we want to listen to here?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. I mean, we get the point. I'm not trying to beat this dude up or anything, but man, I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yes. And so now we go from that to this story about bad polls, misleading betting odds, surveys meant to shade narratives.
Ash left 2 more comments, by the way, about her interview.
Okay.
Let's close those out and then we can. She said on Why We Vote, he said all pollsters were captured, I guess, and then shared Thomas Massey's talking points. And then she
Nice.
wrote, he's very anti-Trump.
Okay.
So
Good context.
there we go. Based and red pilled. Super
Ash
based and red
says,
pilled. Go ahead.
again, he thinks Iran is going to lose the midterms. You guys should watch Why We Vote. Now
Will do.
we have to,
Yep.
since all shows are Why We Vote now. Okay, let's read through this. When Mandela Barnes dropped out of the Wisconsin governor's race 2 weeks before the Democratic primary, he declared, "It has become very clear who our nominee is going to be." He meant Francesca Hong, it's a very American-sounding name, who had a commanding lead in the polls, not David Crowley, who ended up narrowly winning the nomination. Politicians like Barnes have relied on public and private surveys of voters' views to guide their decisions for as long as pollsters have sought to measure public opinion. But in this year's midterm contest, misleading polling has shaped campaign narratives, donor behavior, and news coverage like never before. Polls are traditionally used to measure public opinion, not to mold it. Okay, that's weird. But this year, several Democratic campaigns have seized on unreliable polls to push the perception that their candidates are surging to try to solidify support, attract donors, and scare off rivals. The rise of prediction markets has also created financial incentives for untrustworthy or even fake political polls at a moment when it has become even more expensive and difficult to conduct high-quality public opinion surveys. Some Republicans, particularly President Trump, have for years pointed to dubious polling to advance their political goals, but the phenomenon has become far more acute in Democratic primaries this year. In recent weeks, questionable surveys have created confusion and warped perceptions of the results of key primaries for the party. I'm going to pause here.
Yeah, that's an interesting paragraph.
Yeah, and this paragraph too, or this sentence anyway, polls are traditionally used to measure public opinion, not to mold it. I'm kind of surprised this is actually written in a New York Times article. People who have themselves molded public perception of things over the years many times. But
yeah,
it's
that's
a weird
kind of
come to Jesus moment, though, isn't it? Like, isn't this weird? Like, of them talking about this?
Well, one would hope. I don't imagine that's what it really is. It's one of those, you know how they always do, we talk about limited hangouts all the time. You could kind of call it a version of that. But when the critique in the public gets so widespread and unbearable that it has to be addressed, they'll be like, okay, well, fine. It do be like that a little bit. But like we understand the problem. We understand the nature of the problem. We understand how bad you want us to solve it. So we're going to tell you we solved it.
Yeah, well, I'm wondering if they get to that point in the article.
This next, the next paragraph, though, they talk about Donald Trump pointing to his own dubious polling. Right. He's got his own pollsters. Trump's private pollster says, blah, blah, blah. This is what they actually say. Well, that's Donald Trump taking his own information. And because he has the loudest voice in the room and the highest base of like inherent trust in him. Right. If you were to put the trust that people have in Donald Trump up against the trust that people have in the media and the polling, it would not even be close. I bet it would be 5-1 or 10-1. Yeah. And so he puts out his own numbers. And at least that's going to be, it's going to find parity with the like mass acceptance of this viewpoint. So if the media polls, if all of that says Trump is down 10 points and Trump himself says our internal polling actually says I'm up 2, people are going to be like, okay, well, maybe Trump's down by a little bit, but he ain't down by 10.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I don't think I've ever seen him do it that way, though.
Being able to, what do you mean?
Like, so I've seen when I see him talk about the polls, I see him like he'll post and say, Trump, my approval rating is 99% with the Republican Party. I don't think I've seen him come out and be like, I'm up 2% in the polls. Like
he'll sometimes go to he's got the private pollster. It's Max something, John Max something. I can't think of his name. Someone in the chat will tell me. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I think we could probably find examples of that. Okay, but anyway, I would just say that's Donald Trump shifting, like one of their key, and as we can have just discussed and as we can see, one of the key ways that they like set the narrative space for whatever election results they have already determined they're going to produce is through the use of these polls. So if they put out all these polls, because these polls are supposed to guide people to a certain narrative outcome, and then Trump disputes the polls, it's like, well, they can't get to the same narrative outcome in a way that will cause them to believe in the results the same way. Go ahead. Did you find something?
No, I'm just looking for something here. I haven't found anything yet, so you can keep going if you want.
Anyway, the idea that the last line of that paragraph, questionable surveys have created confusion and warped perceptions of the results in key primaries for the party. So we're being told that their loss of control over the polling is making it impossible for their election results to be easily accepted. And as far as I'm concerned, I love narrative chaos. So that to me is beautiful. I would also suggest that's the point.
Yeah, at the end of this, there's a what can anyone do? I think that'll be worth reading, but I do want to read this part here first.
McLaughlin. Thank you, Framer fan. John McLaughlin.
Oh, gotcha. Here, the odds of confusion 100%. The biggest new phenomenon influencing how campaigns are viewed is the spread of prediction market data. While betting market odds are often based on the wisdom of crowds and opaque measurements, they are amplified by powerful companies and reported on by legitimate news organizations that in some cases have financial partnerships with the prediction firms. CNN has such an arrangement with Kalshi and regularly shows the prediction market's betting odds on television. The Wall Street Journal's parent company has a paid partnership with Polymarket to display its odds with journal content. Voters and donors now see those numbers, which can be manipulated by all manner of polling and news events, and use them as a proxy for how a candidate is faring. What I think is most interesting about the prediction market stuff, and I started saying this like as soon as it came out. I mean, this is not a novel thought. I'm pretty sure everybody at Balance thought about this. But we've always talked about how like there is trillions of dollars at stake every election. And if there's a new mechanism where they don't even have to like, I mean, they could just make up a poll, but if they can think people are putting a lot of money behind a candidate and betting on a candidate, like why would they not do that to also further cement like the idea or the narrative that so-and-so is going to win? Like if there's a shit ton of money, pardon my French, behind Trump losing the midterms or whatever, however you want to word it, the blue wave at the midterms, that if that gets reinforced, they'll be like, oh yeah, look at all the money that was on here. Everybody thinks that Trump's going to lose the midterms. The betting markets are so silly that way. They've got to be throwing so much money in there on all this stuff to push their psyops. Like it's got to be such a useful tool for them.
I think that's absolutely true. And then think about the circularity that we have. So it says the parent company of Wall Street Journal. Now, I would prefer verifying that they're talking about the same parent company, but I think that could be the kind of Murdoch empire that they're referring to. And think about what it means that the news and the betting market, where you can bet on the news, are owned by the same organization.
Isn't that funny?
I mean, that's like worse than fixing sports. And the idea, by the way, that the news is not scripted is crazy to me. At least, and I know that people are like, well, part of it's real. Sure. Okay. Well, show me which part. It is at least fake enough that they could create entire narratives specifically to get like people who are addicted to their phone and get major dopamine rushes from winning little bets about nothing to spend all day paying their money to see what story's going to come out next. That's what it is. That's lunacy, man. We are all the way around the bend at that point. And people think I'm crazy for pointing these things out this way while they're the ones doing it.
Yeah. It's also like just rife with insider trading when it comes to news stuff. Like if they know what fake story is going to be coming out soon, they just put some money down on it and they literally profit off the fake stories that they want to tell you. It's not just the people who own it that are profiting. It's the people that are putting on and like putting out these fake stories too. It's also ridiculous. I'm still thinking of DC Drano and Anna Paulina Luna leaked him that JD Vance was going to be the vice president, and he put a bunch of money down on it, and he was getting investigated.
Man,
it's crazy.
I was amazed. Like last week, there was that story about how there was going to be like Muslim foot washing stations at Dallas Fort Worth Airport. Did you hear about that?
I did hear about that, but I did not bet on it not happening.
So, yeah, right. But imagine you could have. So that story
I bet somebody
came
did.
up and then was resolved like in the same 24-hour period. And Greg Abbott just gets like social credit just by the story being reported. Like, it doesn't have to be true at the beginning. Nothing actually happened. And now it's like canceled. All that there was like an application for, I guess they call them ablution stations. And there already are some at that airport. And so
why is everybody freaking out if they already
Greg
have
Abbott
some?
got credit for stopping them. And like, imagine that, like a story about nothing gets resolved with nothing happening. And the only end product is that people think Greg Abbott is based and red pilled and protecting them from the Muslim horde.
Well, I think that's not fair because he's like the one guy on earth that will never need his feet washed because they're never get dirty. So I don't think that's really fair.
Oh man, that's a low blow.
He's in a wheelchair for those who don't know who Greg Abbott is.
I think your feet still get dirty, right? Wouldn't they kind of perspire?
Maybe it's raining outside. You know, like the wheels probably kick up some mud or something, but I don't know. Not from walking. I want to finish this story here. What can anyone do? That's a great question. The modern polling industrial complex is a wild west in which numbers often circulate online with little regard to whether they come from reliable sources. There is no polling cop, says John Anzalone, a prominent Democratic pollster who worked for former President Joseph R. Biden, and said that of the proliferation of low-quality surveys that flood the market, the news media, he said, is going to report on every poll that has a university or college on it, regardless of its methods. Bad in, he said, bad out. That's kind of funny there. I mean, like, they'll just report on anything as long as it's got, the experts attached to it. Both good and bad polls have real-world consequences, driving decisions about messaging, spending, and even whether to stay in a race. The spring Governor Janet Mills of Maine suspended her Senate campaign weeks before the Democratic primary after low polling numbers starved her of money. The decision left Graham Plattner to win the nomination without significant opposition. He later dropped out after a rape allegation that he denied. The first
starved her of money for a Maine Senate race. What's the money for?
Because of fake polling.
Crazy. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. The first 2028 Democratic presidential primary contest is set to be in South Carolina, where the electorate is dominated by older Black voters. I thought Black people didn't know how to vote. That's what I've been told. The exact demographic that was most difficult to poll in both Michigan and Wisconsin. Scott Huffman, the director of the state's long-running Winthrop poll, said, like many of the other pollsters, he had abandoned live caller surveys. We just can't afford it. Polling problems may be less pronounced in 2028 race since presidential contests are easier to poll and produce more high-quality surveys. Why is that, you think?
I guess maybe people are more tuned into it.
Yeah, maybe. But the looming questions about how to accurately analyze the field in 2028 have left donors struggling with how to decide which candidates are worth the investment. Few methods besides polling will be able to gauge who has popular support before the primaries begin in January of 2028. But usually by the time voting begins, the field has been winnowed as candidates run out of money or perceive themselves to be lacking voter support. Given what's happened over the last 2 weeks, the inaccurate polling really calls into question whether there's any empirical value that donors can use to guide their giving, said Shannon Hunt, California Democratic mega donor. There's going to be so many candidates and so many polls of variable quality. People want to tout them and run around with them. The question is, will they have any real-world validity? You just can't know. Man, that is wild.
They pretend that it wasn't like this 5 years and 10 years and 15 years ago. It was like this, though. Polls are fake. I mean, all our politics are guided by polls and elections, both of which are fake. And the only validation to suggest that either of them reflects a reality in America is each other.
People's willingness to accept it.
Right.
I feel like people got to know that the polls are fake at this point. Like, do you remember how big of a story that was? Even I remember back in 2016, it's like they had this whole I keep saying come to Jesus. I don't know why. It's like the fourth time I've said it tonight. But they had a come to Jesus moment in 2016 about like, man, I guess I don't know. We just all happened to be wrong. Nobody saw this coming. So weird how that worked. But all of them were so far off. the entire time. It's nuts.
It's nuts.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Yeah, we could certainly have an interesting conversation about how that situation would come to be. I haven't thought about that particular question before.
Yeah, I don't remember what question I specifically asked, but this will be funny.
About
Like
how it became such a difference, the polling results and the outcome in 2016.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think we've talked about this before at some point, didn't we? Because I personally don't think they like necessarily stopped the steal, but I think they totally blew it, and they didn't have their full election fraud infrastructure in place. I just think their own polls convinced them that Donald Trump had no chance, and so she ran a terrible election, didn't go up to the state. Was it Michigan and Wisconsin? She didn't even go visit or whatever. And like that's a pretty easy way. Like once you get convinced of your own polling, 'cause that's another side effect that these things have. You convince yourselves and your own people of like a narrative that isn't necessarily true, which changes their behavior and how they act and trying to make the narrative come to fruition. And all of a sudden they lose the narrative and the actual behind it.
Yeah, but you can also detect the circularity of these narrative cycles and how narratives drive behavior. And then behavior acted into the real world produces a different world in the image of that narrative. And that cycle just repeats and repeats and repeats. And because our adversary is a lot more savvy than we are at home, addicted to the television, they know that they can just inject these narratives into us, make us respond, and behave in the ways that build the world exactly as they want it.
Yeah.
And so they use it all the time.
Yeah.
Which is why we should be withholding belief all the time when we're getting information from the adversary through the screen.
Well, I think what's notable to me here is like we're starting to get some narratives about we can't trust the polls, we can't trust all these things, but aren't most of the polls saying the Democrats are going to wipe the floor with the Republicans at the midterms?
Yep.
So then are they going to are they gearing up?
People are saying they're saying.
True. But are they gearing up to have that not happen? Or is that going to happen and they'll be like, oh, I guess we were right about the poll. Like the polls were right. We can trust those again. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess we're going to have to see as it gets closer because you can expect that there's still going to be some controversies. It seems like they're drumming up the George Floyd thing, bringing Derek Chauvin back out of the cold storage just in time for the anniversary of Bizarro World George Floyd in 3 weeks. They're going to try to have the George Floyd and Charlie Kirk things converge. Yeah. I mean, they're going back to they're calling it woke one. They're branding the woke one thing now so they can bring wokeness back out. We're going to have all these dumb stories that were told to us every election cycle for the last 5 or 10. And by that, I mean election cycles. That stuff's all going to come back up. And so who knows what they're going to say Trump looks like at that point. If Trump rugs them and ends the Ukraine war and the Iran war the week before the election, like or a few weeks before when early voting is going, what are they going to say everyone voted against Republicans for at that point?
Yeah, I feel like he'd have to even end it sooner than that so that the gas prices can dramatically come down real quick first, because there's a laundry list of excuses they have for why Donald Trump's about to lose these midterms. And we should talk about him being impeached next. But before we do, we have a new, apparently, and I haven't even seen it yet, but a new soft disclosure ad for Labor Day.
Wow.
We're going to play that right now.
Cool.
So, world premiere of the Labor Day soft disclosure ad.
These are the hands that built America. Hands that hammered. Hands that welded. Hands that carried the weight of a nation.
Soft disclosure offers healing for the hands, for the hands.
Good Lord, Randy.
Working hands take a beating.
These hands have built this nation.
Soft disclosure gives rough, dry skin lightweight hydration that absorbs fast without leaving your hands greasy. Every purchase supports 6 small American businesses.
One from everything they do, they're still
Take care of the hands that take care of everything else.
the ones they love. The hands that built me and you.
softdisclosure.com, promo code Labor Day for 17% off. And yes, that is a COMD code. You have to buy lotion. It's funny. I used to work at Menards hardware store in the paint department. So that story is not too far off, because I wasn't pushing lotion on the side while I was doing it, but it was pretty close.
I hear you can save big money there.
You can. According to the rebate, 11% rebate on everything. Plus the groceries are so cheap. I love Menards, man. It's
all I know is that's their jingle, right?
Yep. Save big money at Menards. I'm not going to sing it, but those are the lyrics.
Yeah. Everybody knows how to sing it. They already heard it in their heads.
That's true. Okay, let's listen to Trump saying how he's going to get impeached. I mean, we could go back and listen to the Punch Bowl News interview where he first starts talking about it. But
Yeah,
I mean,
cool.
we don't. I
Yeah,
think we've done that on the show, haven't we?
I think we definitely covered something from that interview, and that might have been it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll just move on. This is newer and more relevant, I suppose.
Okay.
I'm going to be impeached. They're going to impeach me. They have no idea why. I saw today a congressman said on one of the shows, we're going to impeach President Trump. We're going to impeach. Oh, really? Why? The person was asking. A neutral commentator for a change. I like neutral commentators. Oh, I see. You're going to impeach him. Why? Well, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know what happened over there where, I don't know if somebody's starting to yell it or not, but I mean, for him to come out and directly say they're going to impeach me, like, was it what? I didn't get the context of it, but just that alone, it implies that he already knows he's going to lose the midterms. Is that not what that means? That's my one of my takeaways.
Yeah. And I think that having to show us a third fake impeachment is the reason why they have to lose the midterms, which is so annoying to think about. Like, because when you choose to get the hose, you're not just choosing one hose for yourself, you're choosing many hoses for everyone. And we are still stuck at the same level that we were stuck at 6 years ago. And maybe this will be the election cycle that finally breaks people and has them begin to act like adults about this whole thing. But I kind of doubt it.
I kind of doubt it as well. You know, a great place to get hoses, Chris?
Menards.
Menards is a great place to get hoses.
Man, we should get paid by Menards.
Dude, that's where I got my pressure washer. I reached out to them. I was like, I love your pressure washer so much. I have a show, a network. I want to advertise it, and they never responded.
Oh, wait, but they sent you a pressure washer?
No, I bought the pressure washer.
Ah,
I fell in love with the pressure washer.
got it.
Then they did not allow me to sell it, but they probably knew that it's like our pressure washer is so good.
Did you? How many things did you pressure wash?
Well, I started just like, I'm going to clean my house. And so we like started cleaning the garage and the siding. And it's like, oh my gosh, so much fun. And then I was like, I'm going to go clean the deck. And I started doing the deck, and like the old stains started coming off. And I was like, oh my gosh, we can pressure wash the whole deck and paint and stain the entire thing a different color. And so then I did that. And then I have this pergola. Well, I still have more of the deck to do, but I have this pergola over one side of it. And so I'm pressure washing all the stain off of that so I can paint that a different color. Like, I'm just all of a sudden I'm having to like redo the entire outside of the house because I bought a pressure washer. None of this stuff was planned beforehand.
Well, yeah, but you didn't know what glory a clean house could bring.
It has nothing to do with the cleanness. It's whatever type of autism I have. Pressure washing stain off a deck scratches all the itches of it. I can't describe it. It's like you should come over sometime and experience it for yourself. I'm serious. It's amazing.
It's like Pringles.
It's better than Pringles.
You can't stop. So I guess we're just gonna do only commercial slogans tonight.
Okay, I'm down with that. I'm just gonna stick with the Menards one.
Yeah.
If you got more, we can do it.
Just do it.
There we go. Just do it. That's a good one.
Think bigger.
Stop it. What is there anything else you want to talk about the impeachment thing? I mean,
oh man. I mean, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like, oh yeah. Well, we were talking about some of the succession stuff, and that maybe will take us into the other conversation we're gonna have. But that's what it was. That's what we were talking about this morning.
Yeah.
Man, I was looking. So we're going to talk about the ballroom in just a second for the audience. But Trump had a post last night, and maybe we can just lead into that whole segment right now, and
Let's do it.
The post this morning. Maybe it was this morning.
Was it this one?
I just saw it when I woke up, I think.
We are grateful for the decision.
Grateful for the ball. Yeah.
Trump's grateful for ballroom.
Yes, there it is.
We are grateful for the decision of the United States Supreme Court, the military/ballroom complex being built on the hallowed grounds of the White House, which is so vital for national security, will be the greatest of its kind. It is something that presidents have wanted for 150 years and that the military has been seeking for the last 100 years. Their wish will soon be fulfilled. Construction is under budget and ahead of schedule. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President Donald J. Trump. And the way this all went down is it was getting challenged in all sorts of lower courts. And we went over this last week, didn't we? It was the National Trust for Historic Preservation, which, by the way, they have like a large majority of their investments overseas, like investments in spending. That's the category on the tax form. Super commie. But so we, not when I say we, John Sauer, the Trump administration, they filed an application for a stay of the injunction that the district court had ordered. They did it directly to the Supreme Court. It was like a 45-page application. I read that, and then there was a 450-page, a 475-page appendix to it. I didn't quite read all of it, but I read a lot of the recent stuff, like the declarations, and super juicy. But yeah, this is the order that the one-page order from what's his name, John Roberts. It is ordered that the preliminary injunction entered on April 16th, 2026 by the United States District Court for the District of Columbia is hereby stayed pending further order of the undersigned or of the court. So there's not much to it. It's just like one page. What?
Man, sorry, the connection just keeps freezing for a very short period of time, and I assume it must be on my end, but I thought it was good. Anyway, damn it, what was I going to say?
I don't know. Do you want to go back? Oh, the 150 years probably?
Yes, but so about this, though. So basically, the construction can continue until there is some other decision to, potentially in the future. But yes.
Well, hold on. Before we can go on for that, there's a couple things. So I heard, I don't know if it's true. I didn't even think to like go verify myself, but supposedly he's pausing or he's allowing them to continue construction. And then all the other justices are looking at that. And if anybody wants to like say anything, there may be more here, but just until they like get stuff going on their end, they're allowed to continue doing it. And I think it's because of all the declarations that are in this appendix where they're all national. It's like all of Trump's administration being like, this is a threat to national security. We need this for basically devolution. We'll get into it. But anyway, now continue.
Okay, so just to tie the impeachment thing to this. So Trump says in that post that the military's wanted it for 100 years. And keep that in mind for when we talk about FDR in a little bit. But the 150 years thing always kind of perks my ears up because that's the Reconstruction era, basically. That would be 1876. And so we're in that period where it's just post-Civil War, Reconstruction amendments, and then we get into the litigation over the Reconstruction amendments and the litigation of issues that ends up with the full implementation of those amendments into our legal and judicial system, creating the precedent on which all of that still stands and all of our current civil rights law and statutory law and everything since the Reconstruction stands on those amendments and the court precedent that followed. So when you say 150 years, you got to look back at that period and what was going on during that period. Abraham Lincoln was a president who is credited with keeping the Union together. No matter what else you might think about what he did, during that time, he's credited with keeping the Union together, and then he got assassinated. And so we're talking about a president who would have, at minimum, security concerns about the White House. And it turns out that at one point earlier in the Civil War, some unit of the Confederacy was actually marching on the White House with the intent to maybe burn it down or assassinate the president or take over the capital city or whatever, and it never kind of materialized in that way. But what I ended up kind of stumbling upon was, I started tracing back, well, at least what was the history of continuity of government back to that era? And of course, the COG stuff that really came into being in the post World War II, the Cold War era, and the rest of that. But one of the continuity of government features from all the way back in the constitutional era, of course, was the manner of succession. And the way we think about that now is due to laws that were passed after the Constitution was ratified. And I think anything that deals directly with constitutional issues that was passed through means other than constitutional amendments in that brief period after the Constitution was ratified, if it was something that the founders actually debated and then left out of the Constitution, the fact that it was put into place in a way that is not a constitutional amendment, to me, sounds like an incredible usurpation. It was like everybody agreed that it was going to be this way, and then some smaller group of people used different means set up in the Constitution to reverse those decisions that they made, which I think is always really weird. And so that brought me to the president pro tempore of the Senate, which is supposed to just be the vice president. And when the vice president is unable to attend, well, then the president pro tem presides over the Senate. Right now, we have a situation where the president pro tem is essentially the only person who presides over the Senate and just holds this weird title chosen by other senators that ends up in the presidential line of succession because of the law that they passed in 1792.
And so
that was kind of a long way around. I hope that made sense.
No, it did. But the presidential succession itself was that wasn't passed by Congress or anything, right? That was a president's changed that.
No, it was in 1792. I think they did pass it through Congress. That's what I was reading earlier today. And we should probably check that.
Yeah.
But
find it.
Yeah,
so the Presidential Succession Act of 1947.
1947. So that's later on. 1792. Hold on, let me pull it up.
Well, I'm saying that's the last governing framework of it. Congress last altered the list in 2006 through the U.S. Patriot Improvement and Reauthorization Act, adding the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Wow. And I would suspect that they would want to get down that deep because the Department of Homeland Security is just a function of the regime. It is an embedment of the global regime inside the government of the United States of America.
For sure.
So that part is absolutely insane. But anyway, the Constitution essentially put the vice president in charge of presidential powers until a new president had been selected, and the Constitution allowed for the Congress to appoint the person, the officer who would hold that position. And instead of doing that, they essentially just wrote a law that put a permanent succession no matter who was holding those offices. And that does not sound like something that would have passed constitutional muster with the founders at the beginning, at the point of ratification, because it's kind of in direct violation to what it was they were attempting to do, it seems to me.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? I'm just looking now. Because I remember that one of the things Trump did that was super interesting during the devolution period is he provided an order of succession within the Department of Defense. And so I was going to look for it, but he actually, on the way out the door, this is kind of notable, I think, in line with what you're saying, he actually provided orders of succession for 4 separate agencies.
Mm-hmm.
Right, like in the devolution period. And this is the last time he's done any of that.
That's awfully strange.
Yeah. I wonder if Biden tried changing that. But I mean, these are different. It's not like the executive branch presidential succession. But I was looking to see if there was anything out in there. Oh yeah, Biden tried to do a bunch of them too. Trump rescinded all of them. Huh. I was looking at, well, first of all, speaking of 150 years ago, the election of 1876. That's the one where there's that big dispute, and they created that electoral commission for it. Do you remember that? Remember reading
This
about
is
that?
the Kentucky guy.
Yeah, it was the Compromise of 1877 with Tilden and Hayes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so or the bargain of 1877, or the corrupt bargain, was an informal political deal in the United States that settled the intense dispute over the results of the 1876 presidential election, in which Republican candidate Rutherford B. Hayes was declared the winner over Democratic candidate Samuel Tilden. During the Reconstruction era of the 1860s and 70s, the United States fell under military oversight. Isn't that funny? The compromise entailed the Democrats ended both a filibuster of the certified election results as well as the threats of political violence in exchange for the Republicans ending military oversight. When Hayes took office, he withdrew the last federal troops from the South, which historians largely regard as the end of Reconstruction. So they ended military oversight with a fraudulent fake election result, contested election. Yeah, it is interesting stuff.
And I think that there was an assassination that followed.
Of who? Hayes?
Yeah, I could be conflating two of these events in my mind, but I think it was that.
He died in 1881. It looks like he served a full term. Maybe Tilden died?
Yeah, hold on. I'm asking the machine.
He died in, I don't know, that's governor of New York. Retirement. No, he retired, so couldn't have been him.
Okay, maybe I'm just messing it up.
Yeah, that's okay. I forgive you. But okay, so there was when you were talking about this like history of continuity government in 150 years and stuff, that got me searching for history of continuity government stuff going back to around this time too. And then it got me searching for history of like White House construction and things they've done there. And Trump, and I don't know if we're ready to even move into this topic yet. If you have more you want to say on what you're saying, I can wait. But it's up to you.
No. I the only thing would be to tie it to the impeachment thing, because I think that at some point the line of succession might be in play and we might be talking about stuff like that. I think it's good to kind of lay down markers on these things early on and keep our minds open about, we all have this idea that so many of these rules that the government has instituted over even over the course of our lifetimes or whatever, or over the course of the last 100 years, whatever, stuff that was around for a little while when, it was around before we were taught about how the governmental system works. We're very attached to that stuff because it's the way we've always known the government to operate. And so therefore we think it's all legitimate and above board. And this is yet another one of those areas where if these issues come up in the future, we should have our minds already settled on the fact that this needs to be another area that we are willing and prepared to contest.
Yeah. I don't know, man. That'd be wild to think of fake elections, Democrat sweep, impeachment, Trump and Vance out. If the Democrats do sweep, then it would be a Democrat who would then be the president, right? Because the Democrat would be Speaker of the House.
Yeah, and I think then a Democrat would also be Senate President pro tem too.
Yeah, which if President and Vice President were impeached.
And JD Vance is cozying up to the socialists quite a bit lately too. So maybe they're trying to make some deal and say, hey, come on, like just let us keep JD there. Nobody's going to want to see Hakeem Jeffries do this.
Yeah. Man, that'd be interesting. We're just telling you guys to prepare for it. We're not saying we want this to happen. Just if we get the hose again, this may be what that hose looks like, which you can get with an 11% rebate at Menards, a fancy new hose. Okay, but anyway, I was digging into the COG stuff and like history of White House construction, and this is not the first time that a president has attempted to build an addition to the White House while building something much more classified underneath. And we will talk real quick about FDR. This is secret space at the White House on whitehousehistory.org. The only secret passage that might qualify as such was built immediately after Pearl Harbor in December of 1941. The Civil Defense had begged President Franklin D. Roosevelt to move elsewhere than the White House, which pronounced a fire trap. The president declined, but justified his longtime plan for extending the East Wing by adding a bomb shelter and ordered the work to begin. No public acknowledgement was made of there being a bomb shelter under construction, only the East Wing, which Roosevelt had long cherished as a museum of the White House, just as you would a few years later envision the Pentagon as an archive of the war after the war was over. While the extension was being built behind high wood fences, a temporary shelter was established at the urging of the Civil Defense, the vaulted basement of the Treasury building next door, on and on. Anyway, they built a bomb shelter underneath the East Wing under the cover of like, we're just going to add a little museum here. Thought that was interesting because that's what Trump was originally trying to do until this lawsuit happened. And if you remember back at the beginning of this lawsuit, it started out just be like, we want this really big, important ballroom. Like, we just really need it. And then over time, from when it first got like challenged till now, they have described like literally everything that's going to be in this thing. Mm-hmm. And some of the more recent stuff is very interesting. And I want to go through a Twitter thread I did where I talked about it.
Yeah. I think I think back to that woman's article and video about the potential that there might be a military facility built under the ballroom. And I think that maybe that was prescient, or obviously maybe that was information that was seeded into these spaces because they wanted to preempt this thing. Or maybe there's been something under the ground there for an awfully long time that is being disclosed to us through this entire process. Yeah.
So we are going to go through parts of the application for the stay of injunction of the district court's order and a lot of the appendix. There's actually only one part of here that is part of the application, but the application itself, which was done by John Sauer, the Solicitor General, it refers back to the appendix for a lot of the quotes within it. And continuity of government, which, like, obviously devolution is a form of continuity government. It is mentioned in this thing like numerous times. And there's a lot of other just random interesting things too. And we did a show, gosh, Chris, what was that? I think it was on August 8th. Actually, I posted about this too. You had a lot of great comments. I clipped them out though, so apologies. But I'm going to show this was right after Chris had a bunch of interesting comments. I said this on August 8th. When you're building deep underground bunkers and military centers, my first thought is, okay, like, well, is that like a continuity government type scenario? If something gets implemented, if the COG-CON gets lowered to a level where they need to go to their devolution zone, like, is one of them going to be underneath the ballroom now? I'm just very curious to hear where they go with that. That was August 8th. A lot of the declarations that we're going to read from people within the Trump administration, they were all written on August 12th or 13th. Like, that's the signed date. So those are all boops because of something I said and people doing something else later after the fact that were no way connected. Now I get to say that I caused that. I'm pretty sure that's how that works.
I think that is how that works. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I'm glad we're on the same page. So let's go through some of these. John Sauer, and this is the very closing part of his entire 45-page application. Given those developments, the injunction promises chaos in service of nothing. A stop work order now will leave an incomplete superstructure susceptible to strong winds during extreme weather and vulnerable to erosion, water, foundation damage, and other setbacks that will fundamentally compromise the integrity of everything being built. No reasonable passerby would prefer the view of that as compared to the finished project. Even measured by the sole criterion of passing optics, the injunction welcomes disaster without benefit. This court should stay the injunction, which illustrates why district judges should not try to seize control of the construction at the president's home and office and allow this vital project to continue for the sake of the president's safety, the continuity of government, and the separation of powers. Conclusion, this court should stay the district court's preliminary injunction and in the meanwhile issue an immediate administrative stay as it considers this application. Respectfully submitted. Yeah, there's one particular declaration in here, and maybe when we get to it I can actually go read it, but he like describes everything that's already been completed within this project underground. Even and like the FLOTUS suite and all these things. Like it's super, super interesting. We can get into it. But that's number one. And if you have anything you want to throw at me, just pause me.
No, but I did think of a great outro video. Although maybe we've played it before. I don't know.
That's okay. We've played Total War like 30 times and we keep doing it. So,
but that video is amazing. This one is too, though.
Okay, well then let's do it again.
All right.
So this is from this is from Garrett Hoffman. He's the director of the White House Military Office. These are the people who are in charge of the continuity presidency. I'll just read it for you. I'm the director of the White House Military Office and a major general in the United States Marine Corps. He served as the director of the WHMO since 2022. That means he was there for some of Biden. Prior to my current appointment, I have performed duties within the WHMO in a variety of roles, to include as a Marine One pilot of the Marine One helicopter squadron, assistant operations officer, commander, chief of operations, and deputy director of the WHMO. I was commissioned in the United States Marine Corps in 93, and he served a variety of assignments and operational deployments. As the director of the WHMO, I serve as the White House senior official for the management of the Continuity of the Presidency program, which ensures the uninterrupted functioning of the presidency. In my capacity as director, I oversee an organization that consists of over 4,000 people. These are in the Department of War, blah, blah, blah. This is the ending of it here. In my judgment, the project delivers updated WHMO spaces, modernized utility infrastructure, enhanced operational capabilities, and increased resiliency of classified national security programs that are fundamental to successful execution of the continuity of the presidency mission as required in national continuity policy, which, by the way, President Trump issued a renewal of our national continuity policy in March of 2025. And it has been a year and a half since that order, and we still don't have it. It is at least like 9 months overdue at this point. I think there was something like, 180 days, and it is well beyond that. Super annoyed. I'm probably the only one on planet Earth annoyed by that, but it's still true. Additionally, the project provides extraordinary protection of these spaces that has not been available in the past. This layered, hardened, and tested protection shields cabinet level events and gatherings that thereby significantly reduces the threat to continuity of the presidency. I declare that the foregoing is true and correct. Blah, blah, blah. August 13th. There's a date. Anything on that, Chris?
No, let's keep going.
Okay, Dan Driscoll. Currently, the West Wing is optimized for daily executive operations rather than engineered to withstand modern asymmetric attacks, necessitating a layered, hardened East Wing to protect the president and key staff. Furthermore, relying on emergency evacuation is tactically flawed. Moving the president off-site activates classified movements and continuity of operations, COOP, assets that can often only be used once because their operational security and classified locations are permanently compromised upon activation, exposing the National Command Authority to transition risks during transit. Securing this reinforced subterranean node guarantees uninterrupted command and control in place. Finalizing this defense in-depth architecture is a non-discretionary prerequisite to ensure the president can maintain continuity of government, uninterrupted operations, and effectively exercise national command authority during an attack or global crisis. That was a juicy one.
Love the non-discretionary prerequisite. Like,
Yeah.
we absolutely have to have this. This isn't something that we just like chose so that we could excuse these cosmetic upgrades we were making.
Yeah. And it's still funny that they've even been like participating in the judicial branch's efforts. Like they've probably just been working on it anyway. Like
Of course.
there's no enforcement mechanism.
Exactly.
Um,
And I think that, just to pause for a second, I think that when, you can have multiple readings on what John Roberts' ultimate status is, but as someone who has an interest in protecting the legitimacy of the Supreme Court, this is the sort of thing where if they decided against it and told Trump to stop and he didn't stop, which of course he would not have to do and would not do, then it becomes clear to everybody that the court has no forcing function. It has no way to enforce that decision. And I don't think that they really want the American public to understand that for as long as they can maintain the illusion.
Yeah, but also that could be something that they would try to impeach him for, Remember when Trump asked that question, like,
That
what are
would
they going to
be
impeach him for? I don't know.
that would be very funny, particularly since that decision leaves open the possibility that that court or another court might step in and try to stop him again. But, he said they don't know what they're going to impeach him for. They're going to impeach me and they don't know why yet. I mean, all I can think when I hear that is that's definitely what's coming up. And they're still trying to decide what story they can tell the American public about something terrible that Trump's done that will actually justify that sort of thing. Who knows? Maybe they will dredge up the fake indictments that people have already kind of formed opinions on about Trump's guilt. And they'll say, well, fine, this special prosecutor couldn't do it in time. And then Trump became president, so they couldn't prosecute him that way. And these courts weren't going to get the job done. But these are still, in our eyes, high crimes and misdemeanors. And impeachment is actually a political process. So we are deciding to impeach him for these crimes, knowing that they have a 30 or 40% belief rate in the country of people who blame Donald Trump for these things regardless.
I think my personal favorite storyline for an impeachment would be bringing it full circle back to like some sort of Russia collusion narrative. I think that'd be really cool, like a new form of it, like something to do with ending the Ukraine war, and he colluded with Russia to do it or something,
That's a great idea. That I would love seeing that.
Yeah, there's lots of fun ideas that could come out of an impeachment. But anyway, by the way, our last GART, which if you haven't come to a GART, we have a GART coming up in Vegas, badlandsmedia.tv/events. I highly encourage you guys to check it out and come join us in Vegas because it's going to be an awesome time. But at our last GART, we played that video where we were the first ones to show the third impeachment of Donald Trump. I'm pretty sure. That was first. That was breaking news.
Right.
This is from Stephen Miller, and just to prove it's Stephen Miller and the date, August 13th, Stephen Miller. The protective necessity of the East Wing Project. The East Wing Protector Project is an urgent national security imperative engineered to defeat documented and rapidly evolving 21st century threat vectors. First, the project incorporates advanced structural features, including military-grade ballistic shielding, blast deflection geometry, and advanced air filtration systems designed to safeguard the president and essential national security personnel during a major kinetic attack or siege conditions. The project thereby also serves continuity of government interests by ensuring that the president and senior national security staff are able to operate from a protected facility during any attack on the nation's capital. So there's another good, juicy one. This is from Sean Curran. I think I said that right. He's the director of the Secret Service. The new East Wing will strengthen the White House's continuity of operations program by providing alternative and additional space to perform essential functions, including critical national security functions in a secure building during an emergency, particularly in the event that other parts of the White House complex become unusable. That's a juicy one. We got this one. I think this is the one where he goes through like all the stuff that's already been done. Yeah, it is. With respect to the concrete structure, we have already placed 6.4 million pounds of rebar and poured 18,000 cubic yards of concrete. This concrete is the hardest and strongest concrete there is. That's exactly how Trump would describe it too. Mm-hmm. The type used in nuclear power plants. It's impermeable and virtually impossible to deconstruct. The materials used, both in concrete and steel and even glass, are meant to stop bombs, rockets, missiles, and even nuclear blasts. Oh. It is, in a very large way, a safe room for the presidency and the continuity of government. We've completed work in the colonnade as well as the North Ballroom and are on schedule to complete the South Ballroom concrete structure by August 21st. With respect to the structural steelwork, which predominantly occurs above the second floor ballroom, level installation has been completed in the colonnade and fabrication is on track for the ballroom structural steel to commence during the month of August. It just goes like super in depth on like all the, it might even be interesting to go through more of his thing. Joshua Fisher. See, there's proof, August 13th. Remind me to come back to him. Okay. And then I have a couple more, I think. Marco Rubio. His was definitely like the gayest and kind of weirdest of all of them, but I thought this line was at least... let me read this whole thing. Our obligations extend beyond those immediate events, however, to the duty to project an authoritative image of the manifestations of free government and leadership in an era of rapid innovation. Like, isn't that an interesting sentence? The presidency and like the administration, they have a duty to project an authoritative image of the manifestations of free government in an era of rapid innovation. Like
that is incredible.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was interesting.
No, it is interesting. And I mean, in some sense, that's what the government is. It is an authoritative image of, well, it's certainly, I don't know about the manifestation of free government. It does appear that way, or they
hallucinations.
Try to, yeah, right. Exactly.
I don't know. But anyway, it gets weirder. First, we risk. What?
That's incredible. I mean, it's, let's continue. I'll come back to it.
First, we risk compromising the reverence for free government and the gravitas of the executive with trappings unbefitting the president's duties. And so, like, this is him saying, like, we need a just super expensive looking ballroom because we're the United States and we're better than everybody else. And we just need to look like we have that kind of money. We can't look like we're $40 trillion in debt like we currently do with this construction project that has been halted as if the financing got called in or something. Moreover, the ceaseless development of complex technologies is core to the modern economy and central to my global conversations. In that regard, it is essential to our global standing to maintain sophisticated physical spaces that combine creative innovation with principled continuity. So you didn't quite say like continuity of government, but like this is the closest he got to it. Like we need to have a bunch of technology and stuff underneath the ballroom so we can be principled while the rest of the world is burning down around us outside.
Mm-hmm. Well, consider, okay, I hope this isn't too far out there. I don't think it is. So,
it never is, Chris. Keep going.
A country like Venezuela, you could say, is in some sense engaged in the same conflict as a sovereign nation against this global entity that we believe Donald Trump is engaged in with the same global entity. Okay. And so when these smaller countries are able to expel that global presence from the country, from the government, from the seat of power, one of the things that the global entity generally responds by doing is destroying the economy of that nation and then projecting that nation to the world as incredibly impoverished, damaged, war-torn, just a terrible place. This is what happens when you do the thing that those leaders decided to do. So to the extent that Donald Trump is attempting to do that thing and is doing it successfully, well, at some point their response would be to destroy the economy of the United States. And, you know, that might be narrative cover for what they're already intending to do with the Great Reset, if any of that ever comes to pass. But if your capital city has been recently adorned in gold and you have this sprawling presidential palace with that looks like the nicest place on earth and is also the most heavily secured place on earth, the idea that they're going to project you around the world successfully as a failed state seems less likely. I think that these are
interesting.
I think this whole thing, the whole ballroom thing, is a narrative defense for narrative weapons. I think all of these stories, you could understand them as narrative weapons. I was literally writing today about how I believe, you know, the very deadly pandemic narrative was essentially like a narrative nuclear weapon. The destruction that was caused by the story they told on the screen, it's just unimaginable costs to people believing that thing because the story was so pervasive. It was absolutely everywhere all the time. The screen was saying it. The people who watched the screen were saying it. It was being built into our real lives. And then those people who watched the screen became its enforcers. And that is more devastating than any world war could possibly be. And in some sense, we do the devastation to ourselves. I mean, that tore apart economies, people's lives, their jobs, their homes. depression,
Relationships.
suicide, everything. Yes. Absolute devastation, 100% narrative weapon. And
Radioactive, you might say.
indeed. And the infection spread, like the radioactivity, I'm not even saying that right. That spreads as well. And it creates this sickness over the course of generations, and it replicates. Being able to narratively defend against those narrative weapons, stuff like this does it. I've talked about the Iron Dome in Israel for many years, that same way. I'm saying narrative defenses for narrative weapons. Attacking Israel can cause a world war. So you put up the Iron Dome. Well, now you can't attack Israel in the same way. And so then we begin having stories. Oh, they got around the Iron Dome with these curly bombs or whatever they, decide. Exactly. And so he was doing the same thing, I thought, with the Golden Dome. And I think that this fits into that context. It's awfully hard to say that you had some successful attack against the White House and took out Donald Trump if we know that it's the most heavily secured building in all of the world. And I think it's also very hard to paint him as a socialist that has destroyed the American economy when they've got this beautiful palace there and all of the wealthiest people in the world are still visiting to do business.
Yeah, I also, I mean, everything you said there was brilliant. I also think, though, the justifications now, like they are just full-throated saying, we need this, we need a secure bunker for continuity government stuff, is for the protection of like the president and all the important people, whatever. We need that. But nobody's really talking about that on a mainstream level. Like when they talk about all the national security reasons, none of them go as far as to talking about continuity government or anything, which I think is interesting. Like it's a negative, and they're not talking about that. But that is the justification they are using primarily. Like the two biggest justifications are, we're already too far along and it's an eyesore, so let us complete it. But also, we absolutely need this for national security reasons. But nobody's asking why they need it for national security reasons like that. They don't care. And that's weird. But
yeah, that's a good point. I mean, I guess there's kind of the Hollywood movie version of what war is. And you think if you just like destroy the enemy castle, then you've won. And, whoever destroys the White House then just takes over forever. I mean, that doesn't make sense in reality, but it's how movies work. So maybe there's something to that. And, we can't, I guess, watch movie clips in the middle of the show or whatever, because YouTube will take us down. But, and it's a major Hollywood film, Civil War. We did a Badlands Story Hour about it, but one of the last scenes in that movie is essentially a secessionist group. One of the factions goes and invades the White House and kills the president in the White House.
Geez, spoiler alert.
Well, I mean, sorry, it's 2 years old. But that couldn't happen in this scenario. In that film, the president is just like up there chilling out in the Oval Office because I don't know, he was like the captain who was going down with the ship or whatever. And it makes for very good Hollywood drama, but I don't think that sort of scenario is plausible once you have, the drone port.
Yeah. Yeah. Like some of the descriptions, it's like, we have a ballroom underneath a drone port. When everybody's like, well, you have a drone port on top of the ballroom. Like some of the way they describe it is the opposite, which is funny. This is an interesting comment in the YouTube chat. Trump might know something we don't about a plan to attack America in the future. Maybe a fake attack. There's a Stargate episode where Daniel builds a golden dome and bunker under a house. I always want my own bunker. Okay, let's go back to a couple more of these. This is Raisin Kane, the guy who was totally against the Iran war, along with J.D. Vance and a few others. We've talked about him a few times on the show. This is what he says. Very short declaration here from him. I declare there is a valid military requirement for a secure state-of-the-art facility that provides for the physical protection of the president and the command, control, and communication capabilities necessary for the president to carry out his commander-in-chief responsibilities over the United States Armed Forces anywhere across the globe at any time. And that's it, August 12th. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. And I think this is the last one I did. I thought it was weird. Like they had Kash Patel, D.N.I. Ratcliffe, Jay Clayton, and Mark Wayne Mullen all write their little affidavit thing or declaration as like one declaration. It was the only one I've seen do this. I want to see if I can even find. There's Stephen Miller. Let me scroll down a little bit and find it to show you. Because like introduced each one at a time. It was just super weird. But they don't talk about continuity of government. But what they did talk about was like the counterintelligence reasons that they need to like get this thing completed. Yeah, here we go. I found it. So all of them on one declaration. Jay Clayton, I. John Ratcliffe, Kash Patel, Mark Wayne Mullen. And they all say the same thing. Possibly, but let's I'll show you what they said here. The foreign intelligence services typically utilize a variety of tactics, techniques, and procedures against sensitive U.S. facilities, such as the complex, to try to get information that they believe can position their respective governments to undermine U.S. national interests. During the suspension of construction, tactics, techniques, and procedures may be employed within the complex by U.S. adversaries. These could include, but are not limited to, they could recruit human intelligence assets within the construction crew or among personnel within the complex to position technical surveillance devices. They could leverage unidentified aerial systems to conduct remote imaging or technical collection activities against the halted construction site, or they could utilize space-based imaging capabilities against the halted construction site within the complex to determine pattern of life, progress, identification of changes, or potential equipment loadouts contained at the site. There are also concerns with U.S. adversaries exploiting vulnerabilities in global supply chains, which are highly complex and intertwined during the construction to gain enduring access to the complex. So they're saying, like, if we don't get this stuff like buttoned up quick, we are vulnerable to a Korean Navy SEAL team coming ashore, killing some fishermen, and planting a bug in our White House.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, in the context of what I was just talking about with like narrative weapons and narrative defenses, this would be, this would seed a potential future infiltration into this heavily guarded structure system, whatever you might want to call it. So this actually doesn't seem to me to be of the same tenor as the other ones. The other ones were describing a need for this facility, and this is essentially saying, if you don't do this fast, they're going to figure out how to get in. And here are all these ways that they could infiltrate and penetrate this otherwise secure location. And really makes it sound like it's going to happen, so that in the future, when we hear some story about this, we'll be like, oh, they knew it could have happened back then.
That's a good point.
I mean, I wish I could give everybody the benefit of the doubt. There's just not any reason to.
Yeah, why would we do that? I don't think we should do that.
We shouldn't do that. I mean, these people are not our friends, okay? They might be very good people. They might be very patriotic Americans. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on them. I'm saying we don't know these people and we don't know their intentions. And some of those characters are well worth questioning. So, you know, is this just a valid concern and they're filing an amicus brief, I guess this is, or whatever? Maybe. Or maybe they're trying to put this stuff into the mix because later on it helps some narrative.
Yeah. Do you want to go through it all? Any of like the supposed actuals they talk about?
I mean, I think it's all super interesting if we can go through it quickly for sure. And I think we should also, I didn't actually end up, I sent you that article while I was working out today. The one from Trump 2016, how he's been talking about a ballroom for a really long time.
Oh yeah, you should pull that up.
I think we should get to that.
Before we do that, real quick, I want to get a quick word from our sponsor. We have one more sponsor of tonight's show, and that is Keat. And I'm pretty excited about this, guys. We already have a Badlanders Keats group going, so we'll tell you how to get into that. Think about what passes through your family group chat in a normal week: school pickups, vacation plans, photos of your children, medical updates, home addresses, and financial decisions. You trust the people in that group, but how much should you have to trust the company operating the app? Keat gives families another option. It's a free messaging and video calling app built peer-to-peer with end-to-end encryption and no centralized company database holding the family conversation. Keat doesn't track metadata, and nobody needs to provide a phone number or email to join. You can create a family group, share files and photos, and make audio or video calls, all without turning your home life into another corporate data profile. Visit keat.io/badlandsdph. That's Keat, keat.io/badlandsdph. You can download it for free. There's nothing, you don't have to pay anything for it. You can invite one person you trust and start a conversation that belongs to you. All right. So when this first came out, I was like, oh, cool. We got a new sponsor. I started looking into it, like download the app myself. And I was like, you actually don't have to pay anything for this. Like, how are they paying for ads when they're not making any money? Turns out they're connected to Tether, and like they have a whole like infrastructure of stuff in the works surrounding Keat, like future Bitcoin payments, Lightning Network payments. They have video sharing and stuff. You can do conference calling. So if you guys download the Keat app, which I encourage you guys to do, again, keat.io/badlandsdph. Once you're on there, a little later in the show, I will post a link to join the Badlanders group. We already got like 30 or 40 people in there, I think.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So I'd encourage you all to do it. I'll get you the links. Just make sure you download it using that link first, and then we'll send you the other link to join the group chat. But all right, Kate, let's come back to this.
This thing looks cool, actually. Sorry, I just went to their website, and then down at the bottom of the website is a link to kind of a parent site or something that's called pears.com, like the fruit. And it's just all about the peer-to-peer revolution. I'm going to have to spend some time looking at this.
Yeah, check it out. I think it's
Very cool. Okay.
I think it's really, really cool idea.
Interesting.
Could be a, with Telegram and some of the potential issues there, this might be an alternative. But yeah, let's come back to this. Just a couple things talking about what's here. The structural foundation extends another 50 feet below ground with steel, concrete, and rebar and connecting the entire superstructure. They say that the superstructure is beyond the point of return. 80% of the rebar is placed. They talk about when it's scheduled to be completed. He also attached a bunch of photos, which I can show you. We already did that one. I want to find the part where he talks about like things that are already done. Talks about the facades and everything. As for mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, we've installed 5 miles worth of conduit, procured 1,700, there's a linear feet of plumbing pipe, and installed 500 linear feet of such pipe. So
they've been laying a lot of pipe.
Laying pipe like it's nobody's business, and it's a QD code, which is amazing. By August 21st, we expect to install another mile of conduit. It's a lot of conduit. Current pace. Key features of the project are finished, installed, including all below-grade structures, the grand staircase structure, kitchen structure, the colonnade movie theater structure. Mechanical and electrical rough-in is progressing in all areas below the ballroom level, including the kitchen, flotus suite, and below-grade mission spaces. So they're giving away what's underneath the ballroom now, which is kind of funny. If work is ordered to stop, severe construction-related problems will follow, again, separate from and apart from the national security problems. They talk about like extreme weather and things that will fall over, and we're going to have mold down there and all sorts of things. Left unaddressed could lead to potential bacteria growth.
Oh, gosh, that's horrifying.
I know. It's a bioweapon, man. Yeah, maybe that's all the interesting stuff.
It is kind of incredible that so the ballroom that Trump has been wanting for a long time is explaining to us that there is this massive military infrastructure underground here. And Trump is like, we were going to be able to keep that all a secret if it wasn't for this lady from this weird congressionally created kind of NGO trust group who shouldn't have had standing. But it was because these people sued that all of this information had to come out in a court case. Now, to believe that the government was forced in some minor court case to reveal all of this stuff to the American public is very difficult for me to believe.
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. Also, the funding mechanism now here behind this, like the ballroom will be funded with approximately 400 million in private donations, with no taxpayer money required for the ballroom itself. So they've almost found like a little workaround. Like our taxpayer dollars are going to be going for everything that's underneath the ballroom, but the ballroom itself on top of that, that's all, you know, we got some friends in high places who gave us that money. It's the first time I've seen it worded like that. But like, why would, knowing what's going under there, why would, I mean, I can understand President Trump doing it, but why would other like big corporations want to donate to that? It's tax write-offs probably.
Well, I mean, it's also, well, probably part of that, but some of the technological stuff that is supposedly going in there, I guess it would be those companies kind of just giving it to the government.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or to, you know, Trump's, to the kingdom.
To the kingdom.
A gift to the kingdom.
Yeah. I wonder if these are all illegal workers on here. Wouldn't that be funny? Like we hire all illegals to do this super top secret American project, and then we deport them all and put them in Gitmo so they can never talk about it again.
They're the only ones who won't go in and steal all our national security secrets and give them away.
I think we've seen all these pictures on Trump's True Social, but
they sure do look cool, though.
Yeah.
Drone port. Oh, man.
And then we got high resolution images, too. The same ones, just better quality.
Oh.
And sideways.
Yeah, they really are. I mean, they're concerned about satellite images of all of this being shown to the world, and
then just showing it to the world on their own.
Yeah. There's something else going on here.
Yeah, it's an astute observation, Chris.
Okay, so go ahead if you were going to say something, but otherwise, let's jump over to this.
I was just going to read Badlands Meerkat saying, "Listen in stereo. YouTube on the left, Rumble on the right." That's pretty awesome. You would have had to align the audio because I'm pretty sure the Rumble is like a little bit more behind than normal. But thanks for the super chat. Anyway, what were you going to say, Chris? Oh yeah, this one.
Yeah,
go for it.
Okay, so Donald Trump promises to build new White House ballroom, and this is from January 31st, 2016. So before Donald Trump ever became president, and at that point was only king of the world. In his final speech before Iowa Caucus Day, Donald Trump renewed his old promise to build a lavish White House ballroom and pay for it himself. Every time the top people come over from China, they put up a tent at the White House, he said, during his final event Sunday in Sioux City, Iowa. We'll have a ballroom at the White House. That is 10 and a half years ago, and he's saying the same things now. He said he had long ago come up with a plan for the new facility. We'll get the top people, the top everything. We'll have the best ballroom. Because I noticed they always put up tents on the lawn. Number one, it's not a good security thing. Number two, the guy that owns the tents is making a fortune. Trump said he once called David Axelrod, a former senior advisor to President Obama, offering to build a ballroom worth at least $100 million for free. We'll put it someplace so it works contextually, magnificently, Trump said of his construction offer. I never heard back. Contacted by Time Sunday night, Axelrod confirmed that Trump had contacted the White House about a ballroom. He didn't offer to build one, Axelrod confirmed to Time. I don't recall him saying he would pay for it. I passed his offer along to the social secretary. And of course, you know, you have to think that he's just talking politics there. I mean, what are you going to do at that point? Make Donald Trump look good by offering to build a ballroom? This is just like 3 more paragraphs so we can finish.
Yeah, keep going.
Okay. This was not the first time Trump had made a new addition to the White House, an issue in connection with his own presidential run. As far back as 2011, when Trump was flirting with a presidential campaign against Barack Obama, Trump had floated the idea of a White House ballroom on the Rush Limbaugh radio program. We'll go through the committees. We'll pick one they like. We'll pick the architect everybody likes. We'll pick something that works. We'll do 10 designs, he said of his offer to the White House. You'll pick the one that's the greatest with the greatest architecture. I will build it free. So that's anywhere from $50 to $100 million gift. I will give that. And I mean, I'm talking, Rush, this is the first time I've said this. I'm talking to the biggest person, one of the biggest people at the White House. I'm not talking to a low-level person. So I wonder if he was talking to Obama.
Yeah.
Or maybe he just meant Axelrod, to be honest.
Probably.
At his final event, Trump also attacked his main rival, Texas Senator Ted Cruz, during the Sioux City appearance, knocking him for a controversial mailer his team sent out designed to look like an official government document. It's so terrible. I've never seen anything like it. It's a fraud as far as I'm concerned.
How dare you talk about official government document like that?
Yeah.
That is very notable, though. That's a great find. Like, did he predict the future? Did he seed the future? Why does he want a ballroom so bad? Has he always cared about presidential succession? Even back in 2011 and what was that, 2016, before he was president?
I guess you could make the case that he's always cared about how the American president looks in the eyes of the world.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that's a partial explanation, I suppose.
Yeah. But it's just crazy how that's like basically come to fruition.
Yeah.
Did you hear, by the way, that we're in another war with Canada?
Oh,
the trade war?
Yeah.
Carney called it a war.
Yeah, and he's talking tough.
He is talking tough. I might have a video of it, or maybe
Isn't
not.
it weird that tariffs are totally okay and not a tax on Canadians when they are used in retaliation against Donald Trump?
Yeah, that's not a war. But this is what Carney said. I got a New York Times article for you guys. The morning after he pulled negotiators from trade talks, so he's trying his own skill at the pullout game. He in Washington set off a new round of American tariffs. Prime Minister Mark Carney called the U.S. proposal a bad deal and said Canada was at war with the United States. Now, he can be considered a wartime prime minister, I'm pretty sure. We've recognized from the start that America has changed, he said in an address to Canadians on Saturday. We recognize that sometimes its signature is written in pencil, eh? We cannot accept what they offered, and we will not give what they asked, he added. We were not prepared to compromise Canada's sovereignty or undermine our key industries in a muscular 22-minute speech. I just love how they describe that. Ridiculous. You're at war when you're attacked, and we got attacked, Mr. Carney said.
So gosh.
It's like an economic D-Day for Canada, too. Or C-Day, maybe we call that. I don't know.
Poor Canada.
Yeah, screw them. What do we even import?
Canada has a good national anthem, though.
No, they don't, do they?
You don't like it?
I don't know if I can
You know it
think
because
of it.
you know it because you watch hockey. And
Yeah. Oh, Canada.
Yeah,
I mean, it's not that great.
Our home and native land. Yeah.
Yeah, but then what?
Oh, Canada, our home and native land.
What's
and then
after
I think they like sing things about how they're definitely a country and an independent people, despite the fact that a tiny queen from a land far away, an island on the other side of the world, still rules them.
Bunch of pussies, I think you're trying to describe them as.
No, they got a nice national anthem.
Okay.
I'm trying to be nice, man.
There's no reason to be nice with the country at war with, Chris.
That's right.
This is war.
Yeah.
Save the pleasantries for later.
It's so hard to tell when a war is happening. It's like a pandemic.
We're just always at war. We're always at war. There is nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
The military-industrial complex. Now we have the we got to think of a complex for Canadian war. I don't know. I thought I would have something clever by now, but I don't. And so I think we should move on. But I don't know what to move on to. Look at this. Trump is just posting images from the lawsuits. It's hilarious. Like he's just going through the same documents.
Did you see his
Oh, this
he
one?
went off on Tucker this morning. Yeah.
Oh, should we read this? I did not see this.
Praise be to Allah. You haven't seen this?
I haven't seen this one, no.
Then maybe it'll be fun, sure.
Okay, Tucker Carlson just met with lightweight former Congressman Thomas Massey and Marjorie Trader Green. Losers all. Tucker's views have fallen through the floor and will only get worse. Nobody cares about him any longer, and that he has become totally irrelevant and happens to be surprisingly a very low IQ individual. He could barely get out of college, and maybe he didn't, but only really dumb people can't make it through that wonderful 4-year time in life. Tucker wants to run for political office, but he should be required to take a cognitive test. Oh, he's got no chance, but could probably take a couple of points away from whatever the Republican ticket happens to be. Tucker is a loser and always has been. Marjorie Taylor Brown, green turns brown under stress, a highly neurotic young woman, went from ultra-conservative to a liberal fool all in a matter of weeks because I refused to return her phone calls, not because I didn't like her, just because I had no time. She was way down in the polls in Georgia because I took away my endorsement and would have had no chance at winning, so she, just like everyone else, quit, in all caps, exclamation point, and quotes. So I don't even know what that's supposed to mean. Thomas Massey has turned out to be a failed politician and a real jerk. He thought it was really wonderful to vote no on everything, no matter how good, strong, or proper the legislation would be. What a team this would be. 3 losers and a pocket full of change. The only chance they have is to join the radical left Democrats and try breaking into the primary system. To all of them, I say praise be to Allah, President Donald J. Trump. This is an interesting thing to say here, though. Like, you have a free and fair election when if you want to run for something, you have to break into the primary system to do it by changing your party affiliation. It's an interesting acknowledgement by Trump, but I love that post.
Yeah. I guess we'll see. I'm told that all of those people are secret white hats that are just...
It's like kayfabe, bro.
Yeah. The betrayal thing is funny. That's like Tucker's theme now, is that Donald Trump has betrayed his supporters. And it's funny, they have this sponsor that there are a number of different, I think we have a beef sponsor.
Yeah, rattlesnake meats.
Right, exactly. And so, there are a number of those that sponsor different podcasts, different programs. And Tucker has a relationship with one that I believe is called Merriweather Farms. And they posted yesterday about how, Trump posted about bringing in imported beef to kind of reduce grocery prices.
Yeah.
And the Merriweather account responded betrayal. So it's funny that like Tucker's sponsors are on board with calling Trump a betrayer of his base.
Wow. I wonder if they're actually going to try to run
those characters.
Yeah.
Man, who knows? I could see them pushing Tucker for sure.
I could see it too.
Tucker's got a JD thing going on. He's got a Hunter thing going on. He's got a bunch of these different things going on that you could kind of see how and he's got an RFK thing going on. You can kind of see how he could begin forming coalitions around these characters.
Oh yeah. He's got a lot going on. He's a busy guy. I think I'm out of headlines. Let me go through a couple more things just to double check, unless you got anything.
You had your Robert O'Brien.
Oh yeah, that was a great one too. That was another great one. So Trump even posted this. I can't believe I forgot this. This would have been great earlier in the show, but it still works now. Let's share the screen quick. Okay, so this is before the SCOTUS ruling came out from John Roberts. Everybody was like, I think it was like at the final, it was a deadline or something. If the SCOTUS did not weigh in, then the construction stopped or something. I don't know. But we had a lot of stories, a lot of opinion pieces. We had all those declarations. But this is from Robert O'Brien. If you followed along with the Devolution series, this was Trump's. He was the last national security advisor Trump had at the end of his first term. They extended his Secret Service detail like multiple times throughout the Biden era. He was the guy that was named as the chair of the FMR committee, the Federal Mission and Resilience Committee, which I wrote about in my part 13 of my series. That's the committee that was tasked with implementing and executing a continuity government plan. Like, he's all up and down a lot of the devolution moves during the devolution period. And this is what he said. He said a couple interesting things. I served as Trump's NSA. SCOTUS needs to stop courts putting the president's security at risk. Where's the president? He's got to move. Those are words the National Security Advisor never wants to hear. Unfortunately, I heard them more than once during my term as the NSA. In those instances, we are quickly hustled out of the Oval Office to a rendezvous with the first family and top presidential aides and taken somewhere safe. It all occurred in a matter of minutes. I served as his last national security advisor in his first term and was honored to have done that and was a special envoy, blah, blah, blah. We'll skip this part. If I had ever had to advise him from the bunker in the East Wing, I wouldn't be able to write about that still. For many reasons, the travels of the presidents between secure, undisclosed locations is classified. In fact, the worst part of the East Wing case is its public airing. Until the unfortunate decision of the U.S. Senior District Court Judge Dick Leon to order construction halted, most of the public and world thought the project was about a long-needed ballroom. Now, because of litigation, which ought never to have passed the standing requirement for reasons Judge Naomi Rao laid out in her dissent, I cannot read District Judge Leon's mind, but the filings from the Department of Justice ought to have persuaded him in the appeals court that this is an urgent matter of national security. What will be below the ballroom is best left undisclosed. The Pentagon and the Secret Service will go to great lengths to shield from satellites and conventional spyware that will be on the roof of the ballroom, but it should go without saying that the White House is much more than the executive mansion. It is the commander-in-chief's principal command center, as well as his home. It is also a target for every terrorist and lunatic in the world and the state sponsors of such would-be assassins. The Constitution's grant to the president of the power of commander-in-chief implies many other powers, but basic among them is the headquarters from which to operate and the security arrangements to protect it. In this era of extremely advanced surveillance equipment, the entire White House complex has to be hardened against prying eyes. It must be made defensible against all manner of attacks. And should the worst-case scenario develop, it must have rooms from which continuity of government will be assured. We're in the age of hypersonic missiles. Did any level of review by the court pause to consider the threat matrix at the center of which the Oval Office must be found? Was expert testimony collected on how long it would take to get the president and vice president to the framed, secure, undisclosed location? As we approach the 25th anniversary of 9/11, the justices of the Supreme Court should be taking judicial notice of the world as it is. 25 years ago, then Vice President Cheney was rushed from his West Wing office to where exactly? The White House mess? The Red Room? No, the vice president was taken to an undisclosed location in the compound that I'm still not at liberty to discuss. So, this is Trump's former NSA from his first term there during the devolution period. Here he is writing an opinion piece, not only invoking continuity of government as the reason, why this needs to be done, but also he's bringing up the only publicly known time that continuity of government was for sure implemented for a period, which was 9/11. And he's talking about undisclosed locations, devolution locations. That is pretty notable. You can't deny that he's not aware of what continuity government is, obviously, with him writing this. So I love this. Love this.
Also got to wonder what we're going to see on the 25th anniversary of 9/11, which is 2.5 weeks from now.
Which is the day, what is that? The day after the 1-year anniversary of Charlie Kirk? Or something like that?
Yes.
Oh, interesting. But okay, I think that's all I got, man.
Good stuff. Some interesting stuff coming out.
Yeah. We had Act Blue founder plead the fifth. We had...
Hey, what did you have any thoughts about that? The Natalie Harp thing, how they were making a big deal about Natalie Harp, who's just...
I couldn't figure out why they were making a big deal out of her.
Well, so this is my personal view and speculation, but I read an article from CNN earlier in the week speculating that Scott Jennings would be the guy for the new press secretary.
Really?
That clown on CNN who is the super based and red pilled guy. He's going to be
he's
guy
the token conservative on CNN.
Yeah, exactly. And he's just such a mainstream down the middle normie that apparently that's supposed to appeal to the rest of the country and represent Donald Trump well. That is what the mainstream of the country believes it looks like to represent Donald Trump well. Isn't that crazy? The guy that goes the hardest to represent Donald Trump well in their minds is actually somebody who does not represent Donald Trump well at all. That's bonkers to me. But Natalie Harp, who knows? Maybe that could have been somebody that was, and her name's been thrown around for that to be the press secretary replacement. So maybe this is just one of those takedown attempts that makes her kind of unpalatable as a press secretary. makes a certain part of the country refuse to take her seriously. I could imagine those sorts of reasons.
Yeah, I'm fully in favor of no press secretary. I don't think we need one.
Same.
I'm just checking to see if there's any other headlines that I missed real quick before I move on. We did reach $40 trillion in debt. So congratulations.
Congratulations,
Chris, we did it.
In odious debt, that is. And if you don't know what odious debt in particular is, that's a great thing to look up, understand, and then tell all your friends and neighbors about.
Should get it tattooed on you.
Well, only if somebody else is paying for it.
It is funny how many people when you say, oh, we have $40 trillion in debt, they're like, oh, but it's a fake debt. It's a fiat debt. Like, we don't ever have to pay that back. But then a lot of the same people who say that will be like, but you have to vote in the election. Like, they're like, you don't have to pay back the debt. It's a fake debt. It's not real. You don't have to do that, but vote in the election. You know what I mean?
Well, you see, you got to vote in the election to make sure that Republicans are elected so that when we don't pay down the debt, they're not going to come get us or something, because our friends will be the ones in power. Man, I heard a comment that was just wild to me the other day about, gosh, I can't remember who said it. It was something on Bannon, but they were talking, I think it was maybe Steve Cortez talking about how if we did and Cortez is a DeSantis simp and mainstream conning normie. I cannot stand listening to that guy, but he was talking about how they were going to make it so that like Republicans could win for like the next 80 years. And I'm like, wait a second, why would anyone want that? All you're talking about is turning power over to the other side of the uniparty in a way that makes it look like this side of the uniparty can never get power again. And that is not an arrangement that we want, because that is just still like squarely inside the controlled opposition. Like one side of the controlled opposition seeming way more powerful than the other side for a long time, while we are told that our side is winning elections. That's no better than the situation right now. That's the same as the situation right now. And we're just dealing with party affiliations.
I would say it's even worse, because then people are like, oh, as long as the Republican wins, and they'll pay no attention to anything behind the man and only pay attention to the R next to the name.
That's exactly right. Yes.
That's terrible. All right, man. Well, let's get some boosts in and stuff. And is that the outro video you sent over?
It is indeed.
All righty.
And we should take down YouTube before we do it.
We will do that. But first, we got a couple things. Let me see here. We got a rant from 1027JS, who said, thanks for $20. Thank you so much for that Badlands boost. Norm LeStorm became a Badlander, which is monthly support, which is truly appreciated. Says, good evening, finally did it. Subscribe. Time to stop hovering in the chat. This Canadian appreciates Badlands Media. Love the variety of opinions, topics, and hosts here. Well, thank you so much for the support. We are at war with you, though, so I don't know. This is awkward now, considering you're Canadian. What do we do with Matt Arrett? He's an enemy combatant now, I'm pretty sure.
We're just going to have to charge him tariffs for whatever.
Yeah. I suppose we could try. Doubt he'll respond to that kindly. Okay, let's go through some of these. Keith Higgins, John, polls are the lotion for greasing palms and smoother insertion of fake and gay candidates into the body politique. All a psyop to keep the pitchforks and torches away from the narrative castle. It's pretty good. Pretty good, Keith. Reberhard 29, we are living in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. That is darn accurate. FV and Native says, evening, gents. My response to the Muslim footbath story was like, hey, why not just an entire shower facility for him? That's pretty good. Keith O'Higgins again says, if we recognize Juneteenth as a federal holiday for the end of the Civil War, can we celebrate the end of Reconstruction with no 40 acres and a mule for you, boy day? I mean, it's not very catchy. But I like where your head's at, man. Secrets, good to see you, Secrets. It's been a while. So thank you for your time, gentlemen. Thank you. And thank you for the generosity. Where you been? The Pete Santilli Show rated the stream. Not sure who that is, but thank you. Bernie Marie for $25 says, got here late and finally caught up with live. You guys sound funny at normal speed now. Great show. Thanks. Thank you for the rant. Counterinsurgent gifted 5 subscriptions. And Just Wondering gifted a couple of subscriptions. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. And over on the YouTube, we had the Meerkat one I shared earlier, and Melissa Swancut 896 with the floating hearts. So thank you guys for wherever you're watching and all the rants and super chats. Make sure you guys hit the thumbs up here and on YouTube. It is truly appreciated. And Chris, with that, what's the movie for you guys this week?
Damn it. Why
Never heard of
can't
that
I
movie.
remember? I chose it too. Oh, The Saint. Val Kilmer, The Saint, 1997.
Awesome. Okay.
It looks pretty badass. I've never seen it.
We got to do our outro video. We're going to leave YouTube, but do you want to give any context for this outro?
This is the scene near the end of Dr. Strangelove by the great Stanley Kubrick, and Dr. Peter Sellers here